You're listening to Inside Content, the TV industry podcast. This show is brought to you by 3Vision, a global TV industry consultancy specialising in content acquisition, strategy, research and business development. Each episode, we give you VIP access to the views and experiences of senior TV executives and discuss the latest TV industry trends and insights.
In this episode of Inside Content, I talk to Levente Malne, EVP and MD of AMC Networks in Central and Northern Europe. We explore how it has grown into the business it is today, including the breadth of their thematic channel offer in the region and the endurance of their linear TV business. We talk about the tailored approach to digital initiatives that they take, including the impending launch of AMC Select and their new free TV channel in Czech. Welcome to today's episode of Inside Content. It's great to take a little time out from my day-to-day to stop and talk to someone about what they've been up to and some of the issues they might be facing at the moment. Today, I'm lucky to be joined by EVP and MD of AMC International Central and Northern European business, Levente Malne. Coincidentally, I usually see him in person this time of year in Budapest at NATP, but I couldn't make it this year, but I'll settle for the podcast and catching up with you. Hi, Levy. How are you doing?
Hi, Jack. It's very nice to be here within Inside Content, and it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you.
I hope it's nice and sunny and warm, as it always is when I'm in Budapest.
This moment, it is about to start pouring with rain, but we had a couple of wonderful days, actually 2 warm days. So probably for agriculture, for nature, it's okay sometimes.
Yeah. Even we say that sometimes in England where it rains far too much, but it's great to be here and to talk about what you've been up to. I always consider myself quite fortunate that I get a really great global perspective of our business because of the nature of what we do, and the fact that I once in my life lived in America, once in my life lived in UK, and as a result, I feel like I have a good idea of the AMC business. But I think that there's a lot of people actually who don't have a broad view of the AMC business. It kind of obviously in the kind of global, well, let's say on the US side of it, kind of you've got the brands that everyone knows, the AMC brand itself, kind of the Sundance brand and so on. But actually, kind of in your business, it's even bigger. There's even more brands. So maybe just to kick it off, you could tell us a bit about your business and your role there.
Very gladly. So AMC is an American media group, as you mentioned, and it's known for the award-winning smart and cool drama series like Mad Men, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, recently Killing Eve, and the Anne Rice Universe, Interview with the Vampire, Mayfair Witches. So we produce very charismatic and popular, very high quality, well-written fiction series. And obviously the franchise which everyone knows of, The Walking Dead. So this is AMC. And AMC in the United States has 5 linear channels and numerous streaming services. AMC Plus is the most famous, but there's Shudder, Acorn, All Black. So I could list many of them. Recently, fast channels, a high number of fast channels. But on the international front, AMC consists of 4 business units, 4 regional business units, and one of them is Central and Northern Europe, the business unit I'm responsible for. Practically, this is a geography that embraces core of Central Europe, so Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, the Balkans, the Baltics, and even Germany, Austria, Switzerland. Our reach goes actually beyond the Central and Northern European footprint, because one of our one of our brands, Jim Jam, is sold to the Middle East, Africa, and areas which are outside of the geographic scope of my geographic responsibilities.
Well, it'd be good to hear about those brands and how they and actually how those map to the genres to understand the kind of your level of activity.
Yeah, I mean, just a little background. I mean, originally, my region used to be funded by Liberty Global, UPC. They had their content arm, Cello Media, which acquired different successfully functioning but self-standing linear television channels. And in the first phase of the company development in the region, it was consolidating these and launching some other ones. These are mainly thematic cable TV channels in the region, usually with very strong local roots. And this has been the portfolio which AMC decided to acquire in 2013. And right after a smaller reshuffle, this region has been renamed to Central and Northern Europe, and that's what I'm responsible for now. And in some areas of the footprint, namely Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Romania, which we in a simplified way call either Central Europe or core Central Europe, we managed to achieve a very strong position, I would say a leading position among global media groups. In Hungary, we grew our share in the last 5 years by 20%, having become the number 3 from among all media groups. And by the way, we are the number 1 among global peers. In Romania, we actually grew in the last 5 years 165%. So it's really an amazing story. We are the number 4 among media groups. But also in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, we have grown above 50% in viewership in the last 5 years, which is an evidence of linear still being strong in the region and our focus and our priority still linear.
Yeah, and so across all those countries, this is a test question for you, but how many channels therefore do you have? You must have a fair few channels.
Yeah, we have a total of 36 channels, 13 brands, and I don't want to list all of them, but practically, what I would say is that the 13 brands and 36 channels represent 4 main genres. Film and kids are really defining the footprint, because wherever we are present, we do have a kids channel, and most everywhere we have a film channel as well. We do have infotainment channels, which are very heavy in local original production. And in 3 geographies, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Slovakia, we also operate successful sports channels. Further beauty of the region is that we produce these channels in 16 different languages. And our technical footprint is over 70 countries, over 45 million households.
That's quite a challenge. I definitely want to talk a bit more about the kind of the fact that, I mean, the plain and simple fact, really, that you're fundamentally a really strong linear business. And I know, I think it's partly indicative of the fact that every region and country around the world can find itself at a slightly different stage of development, but also I can't. So I also feel that kind of whenever I'm kind of looking into the CE market and the cable market, the value proposition has probably got to support that as well, not just the speed of change to digital proposition, but you fundamentally kind of your linear is still very resilient.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, it has got a lot to do with the value proposition, because linear in most Central Eastern European countries is still fantastic value for the money. I mean, in many of the countries, the monthly linear subscription fee is around $15. And for that, you get over 100 local language channels. And that puts streaming in a tougher position because, I mean, it's like the price or around the price of one single streaming subscription. So what consumers and the whole industry experienced recently in the United States or even in the UK, where a lot of cord shaving, even cord cutting has been experienced, is not so typical in the part of the world where I live. Because, you do not leave cable a $15 rich and high quality package, while as for the same money, you actually get one alternative streaming subscription or service. So what's happening is that streaming is supplementary. It's on top of the linear viewership, and it's getting more and more widespread. So the streaming revolution also reached Central and Eastern Europe, but with a slightly different impact. It's not taking over linear, it's an add-on.
Okay, it'd be good to explore. I mean, it was interesting. I was in Warsaw the other day, kind of wandering around, seeing all the billboards for the streaming services, and so it's kind of nice to see that it's very present and it's there. But it's interesting that the dynamic's different. But obviously, AMC actually, I feel in some respects have been quite a leader in doing what they've done digitally in the US, and done a good job of sort of some cases carving out niches, in some cases taking the brand into digital. And I know I hadn't even picked up on the anime service they'd also launched, the High Dive one, until I had a quick look before this call actually. But and you've had digital services to a differing degree kind of launched in international markets, Canada, kind of some of Europe, some of Australia. And I read in your report, well, it was your annual report, kind of you're quite opportunistic about that, which makes a lot of sense because every market is different. But from your point of view, because how does the fact that kind of linear is so strong and so critical, how does all of this fit into your own digital strategy? How are you approaching kind of the new services?
Well, since the audience requires digital, we are developing our digital product. However, in the near future, we still put linear first. So, as opposed to our peers in streaming, we really would like to be partners of the operators. So we go and develop business to business focus streaming model, and we keep the best of our content within the ecosystem together with linear. Our streaming is really tailored to local needs, so we are not spreading a global product. We tailor-make program our streaming product locally. The first product we are going to launch will take place this year at the turn of the third and the fourth quarter, so around late September, early October, with one of our biggest distribution partners. It will take place in Hungary. And we also explore opportunities of FAST and AVOD in one of our more mature markets. So these will be our first steps in streaming in the Central European region.
That's That's great. I mean, so is it? Would you say I'm kind of if we just leave the fast AVOD bit for a second, in terms of the other initiatives, effectively evolution, kind of following the same business model and strategy, just doing it adjacent, slightly differently, answering to consumers' need, but not radically altering the business model or in that sense.
Yeah, let's put it this way. As long as we believe streaming remains supplementary to linear television in the region, what we normally say, or the way we position it, is it's rather extra entertainment for the better to do. I wouldn't say for the rich, but for those who can afford more for television. And in this environment, and I really would like to emphasize, linear TV is not only a good value proposition, I would say in many of the markets is still considered cheap, so low cost, even compared to the household income. So it's really not substituted by streaming. And what we experience is there are numerous global players, streaming players, entering the market with actual wonderful, very high quality streaming product, and yet they are competing in price. So we wanted to stay out of going into a price war, because it's eventually not good. It destroys value. And what we see all across the industry is that, I think globally, is that there has never been, probably it's fair to say, such high quantity and quality of, for instance, fiction product available in this environment to compete on price, especially in a region where linear TV is still not expensive. That I would have considered as a mistake, as destruction of our own value proposition, of our own industry. So we decided to choose a slightly different path in Central Europe. Right.
I mean, that sort of makes me kind of think back to when I was walking through Warsaw. I lit in the space of, I think, 5 minutes, and I'm not exaggerating, I saw a Sky Showtime billboard, a Netflix billboard, and a Max billboard, all in a relatively short walk. And I think there's been 2023 was a pretty complicated year for the US studios and for US media businesses and for the streamers. The studios faced a lot of pressure to sort of look at their model and look at their costs and come up with some sort of not kind of bet everything on the SVOD model. And obviously, in some markets where they've seen some decent growth, but they're also now facing a lot of competition, it's probably more of a switchers market for SVOD, and they're very focused on customer retention and those issues. And with that comes all of the kind of changes with their strategy about who they sell content to and where they use the content themselves and how they window it. But just I kind of ignoring in some respects that sort of bigger US sort of strategic issue. How do you sort of see the next 2 years for those players, for Max, for Showtime, for Disney Plus? I mean, yes, for Netflix as well, but for particularly those studio ones who in some respects are trying to, in other markets, are selling into that ecosystem that you're also in with pay TV, selling into the channels like yourselves, but also like the pay TV operators that sit on the platforms. So do you see, I guess I'm not sure how much you want to be drawn on it, but do you see them struggling and having a hard time? Do you see kind of...
Well, let's put it this way, Jack. In 2022 and 23, it was all about the subscriber number. I think priorities are changing, and now it's much more about profitability. So I believe a lot of thought would be given to number of premieres, price points, and price points shall not mean discounts, rather how premium position with premium pricing can be achieved. And obviously, and that's happening, that started in the United States. Everyone's looking at advertisement opportunities. In Central and Eastern Europe, the advertisement part will probably come a little bit slower. First of all, in the lack of scale. Second, and again, there's no one size fits all. So in the Czech Republic, linear television advertisement prices are healthy. In Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, I believe they are still low. So as long as the linear advertisement pricing proposition is still extremely attractive, especially if you want to reach masses, then to do streaming advertisement will be slightly more difficult than in Western Europe or in the United States. So these are the dilemmas for our competitors.
Yeah, I'll come back to that because I do want to ask you about your relatively new initiative in Czech with your free TV channel. But from the kind of the SVOD point of view, obviously they've got a big focus on originals. To some extent, sport is playing a slightly bigger role now. I think the market's a bit ahead of how significant it is at the moment. That's my view for the SVOD players, for the streamers. I think they're desperate to read about Netflix doing more sports rights deals and things like that they're trying to put more flame under it. But for you, kind of sports really important, because I know there's a long list of strong rights you have, from kind of Champions League to kind of NBA to UFC, and then also I guess original content. Those two pillars that are important to your business as well.
Absolutely, both local original production and sports are very important pillars for us in Central Europe. They are critically important USPs for us, but primarily we place those content on the linear channel. Certainly, when we launch now our streaming proposition, and the brand will be Select, in case of sports, we will have spillover where we have more live sports content than what our two linear sports television channels can at one time point absorb and adopt. So whatever spillover is there will go to Select. But our strategy and priority will be to program the stronger events still on linear and the extra on the streaming service. With original production, the streaming service will be, so Select will be an opportunity to catch up, to watch later. So we will have a catch-up function and also some windowing. So whenever the specific content gets its natural rest time on the linear service, then it will be downloadable on Select. And by the way, yes, you mentioned we have very strong sports propositions. In Hungary, we have EHF handball, which is critically important. I mean, Győr, the Hungarian female team, won the Final Four this year and usually performs extremely strong. So it's super important for the Hungarian audience. We also have Champions League football, the so-called Package B. We have darts, which is a breakthrough sports recently. And as you mentioned, NBA, UFC in Hungary. In the Czech Republic and Slovakia, we have Serie A. We have Europa League. And also for Slovakia, we have local ice hockey and the one of the packages of the national football teams qualifiers. So we have quite a robust sports proposition in the region. And also we have a decent share of original production. And when I talk about our own production, obviously, on one hand, we have original productions from the United States. I mean, we have the Walking Dead franchise, which we keep on our primarily linear services in the region. But we also produce over 100 hours a year locally in Hungary, Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Romania. We have our own studio capacity, an 800 square meter camera studio. And we have produced a lot of successful programs which have been winning awards even outside the Central European footprint. I mean, from Mexico to India, Los Angeles, Malaysia, Japan. So these original productions have been appreciated also outside the core of Central and Eastern Europe.
I think that's that just goes to show the breadth of your activity even more than what many people perceive that the AMC business is to be about. But the amount you're doing is amazing. But
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, Jack. What I have to say in Central and Eastern Europe, whenever we produce something else but sports, it's unlike our US studio who is super strong in fiction. We do not do fiction. Most of what we are doing is lifestyle cooking and documentaries, and especially the documentaries, they travel pretty well and they are pretty much appreciated even outside the region.
That's great. So we're kind of running close to time, but free TV. You launched in Czech, am I right? On the DTT, I think it was on the DTT platform in Czech. Well, maybe just tell us a bit about what how and why kind of that came about.
Absolutely, Jack. What I have mentioned, the fact that linear is still very important for us. We are opportunistic. Whenever we see a hiatus on the market, some kind of a market need, we jump on it. Like earlier this year in Romania, we launched our third linear film channel, Filmmania, and it's by now carried by 2 out of the top 3 distributors. And we have very advanced and good conversations with the third distributor. It suggests to be a great success. I mean, our film channels have been performing wonderful in Romania. So we, as mentioned, we are opportunistic. In the Czech Republic, last year, we decided to slightly fine-tune our model. We had 8 pay TV channels. So channels, these are all basic cable channels. So what it means is they are not free to air. A cable operator, an IPTV operator, a satellite operator packages them together, and for a certain subscription fee, it's accessible to viewers. But since the Czech Republic is a robustly strong linear advertisement industry, we decided to modify our model a little bit, and we launched one of our brands, Spectrum Home, a lifestyle channel, on the free-to-air terrestrial platform, together with Česká radiokomunikácia. And we very strongly believe it will be a success. The viewership rating is growing, and it's far from where we believe it will be in a few years. We certainly are also planning to further diversify our revenue model. So we are going to look into streaming. But again, that in the Czech Republic also primarily we would like to do hand in hand with our distribution partners.
Right. That's great. Well, I look forward to seeing how well how that channel grows, how well it does. I'm sure it'll be interesting to watch. And I guess one last thing, because I know that everyone's it's a kind of hot topic at the moment. You mentioned Fast. I mean, I know the mothership back in the US has done quite a few Fast channels relating to the brands you have over there. So you're gonna, I think you said you're gonna kind of explore it. So you're gonna sort of dip your toe in the water, try it out. Are you in the region?
Yeah, look, we try to stay ahead of the curve. So we are very open with experiments. So in one of our markets, we are planning to launch a fast service, and I really hope it happens this year. But I don't want to make too early promises. It's on our radar, and look, we are heavily invested in these local markets, and we are always looking for new business opportunities. So we will continue to produce in most of Central Eastern European markets originals tailor-made for local tastes. In our sports, we will always make smart investments, meaning we are not going to go crazy and keep certain sports rights at any price, but we are always looking at a strong combination of well-proven sports rights, sports content, and some up-and-coming ones. And we have been quite successful in the past. I mean, darts is a great example in Hungary. And a strong focus for us this year and next year is, as mentioned, streaming. First, Select as a B2B proposition, so in the non-advertisement field, but also we are not going to jump away if we see an opportunity to launch one or more fast channels in the region. We got to be careful where and when, because it can be very risky, but we are prudent. And our general attitude is, we see this as business. We are in Central Eastern Europe growing, but carefully in well-measured steps. And so far, this strategy of careful progress, look at the value of the buck invested and figure out a way to monetize, that strategy has worked for us in the last decade. Hopefully, it will also work for us in the next one.
Well, I'm quite sure it will, and I think you're absolutely right on that, and on Fast as well. I think kind of lots of excitement, but I think people need to tread carefully. There's plenty of Fast initiatives not working, despite the fact there's plenty that are. But Levi, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure. Next time we'll have to do it in person, but thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate it. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Inside Content, the TV industry podcast brought to you by 3Vision. With decades of TV industry experience and real-world success, we know the ins and outs of the market like nobody else. To learn more about our TV consultancy services, head to 3vision.tv.